Good evening, fellow Rotary Toronto Eglinton members and no guests. Welcome to the Wednesday, 13th August 2025 meeting of Rotary Toronto Eglinton. I think this is our first ever or in a long time evening meeting. And I'd like to congratulate Walter Zodka, our president, for trying new things. Instead of us just debating things, we'll see what happens, and then we'll have some data to go on. But so far has been pointed out, it's the same people who always are able to make the noon meeting, and not yet a single person who hasn't been able to. So we will have this meeting, and we'll see how it goes. And Walter and his executive committee will take this information and feedback into their consideration. I'm going to start with a reflection, and Jim Moore, I had you down on the agenda to do that for us this evening, please.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Ron. Thank you. I was trying to think of what would make sense to talk about today in our first evening meeting. There's an old maxim that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Right. In this time of Russia invading the sovereign country of Ukraine, of Hamas killing Jewish kids at a concert, and Netanyahu's Israel responding so terribly out of proportion, let us hope that the good people prevail over those promulgating hatred and evil. We Rotarians, as people of action, can and must and do act in these situations. And I think of Anna and her project in Ukraine. That's the good people side. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jim. Very, very thoughtful. Unless somebody's come on since I last looked, we do not have any guests that need an introduction. If somebody comes on later, we'll acknowledge them later in the meeting. So I think we're going to go straight into our program as we've been doing lately, and then have our club meeting business after that. So it turns out that the topic today is the Calgary Rotary International Conference. A chance to debrief it and to just discuss Rotary's conventions, both international and district as well. I have a feeling that when I look at the list, that every single person here almost has been to probably an international convention, or for sure a district convention. We're going to focus on Calgary this evening in terms of sort of a round robin panel of sorts. And then purposefully leaving lots of time for everybody else who's been to probably more conventions than I have to participate in the discussion of this issue. So what I was thinking of doing is, I believe there was 5 or 6 of us, maybe 7 that were able to make it to Calgary, and I have different questions for the different people depending on how long they've been in Rotary and differences like that. And I'd like to start with, I think, a first-time attendee and a newer but super active member of our club, Anna Shep. Anna, can you unmute yourself and let us know what you thought of the convention, how it was different than maybe what you expected, and what most surprised or impressed you about it?
Okay. Well, I met a woman at district, and I've gone to all the district conferences since I joined, and I enjoyed them. We had great speakers. And this woman said she'd been to 24 conventions around the world. And she said, they're so good. She said, I weep. The entertainment is out of this world. Just everything you learn, the people you meet, and so on. And really, you do meet people from all over the world, as I did. And when I was leaving and checking out of my hotel, the woman behind me was from Hong Kong and she'd been to, this was her 18th. So it's nothing new that people go and they travel great distances. So that was a treat meeting them. My favorite part, I guess, was the keynote speakers from the beginning to the end. And I even think that the group at the end with our new international president, he gave a wonderful address. I don't know how everybody couldn't just fall in love with him. He was so real, so emotional. He talked about his stuttering problem, never dreaming that he would be a leader of such a big organization. You could tell that those that were leading were very close and they just loved what they were doing. Um, and then the other thing I loved was the House of Friendship. I must admit, I'll backtrack for a second. I did not do well at the breakout sessions. Many of you know I have a hearing problem, and though I heard the speakers, when the audience participated and stood up, even took the mic, I could not make out what they were saying. It was partly maybe the big room, certainly my hearing disability, but as well, and Ron and I had a word about this, the breakout sessions weren't particularly, the titles anyway, weren't all that inspiring. So, but what I loved was the House of Friendship. And I can't believe what is going on in the world and what all the Rotary clubs are doing. The House of Friendship must have had 150 tables in it. And though I didn't stop to talk to each one, I certainly took their cards. And I just want to share some of the projects with you. There was one from Guatemala. And this woman says, you know, the girls quit school at age 10, and by 14, they're married and having babies. She said, what we've done is we've built a school, and it's a vocational school where they learn a trade, be it woodworking or hairdressing or carpentry or whatever. And she said they live there for the duration of their education and they come away with skills. And it's really altered the world, the life of girls in Guatemala. So there
Well,
she was.
and go ahead.
There she was, this woman telling me about it, and she was sitting there all the days, and she was just talking about her country's project and the person that she's, you know, doing it with in the United States. Then I picked up a card. I don't know if you can see it. Stop organ harvesting. Well, I didn't even know there would be such a Rotary group, but that's one. And then I learned about this little Bella's Bimbas or Boombas. Can you see that? Or maybe it's backwards. It looks backwards to me. Anyway, this man came up with an idea for a little kind of a ride-on car for little kids who have spina bifida. And it's now being assembled and sent overseas, again from the United States, helping children with walking. It doesn't necessarily have to be spina bifida. Then there was a Ukraine one, and this one here, Power Up. And it's a generator that they say could drop off the back of a truck and it wouldn't be harmed. And what it does is it allows for electricity in areas where, you know, it's been bombed out.
And hold on, I know you've got many more and lots to share, but hold on, we're going to go through, give everyone a chance to make a few comments, and then in the question answer, the discussion at the end,
Yeah.
jump back
Anyway,
in.
that's the nature. It was, and there's about two others I really want to tell you about, but that could happen another time. It was just so it broadened my world, I guess you could say.
Great, super, thank you, and thank you for attending, and thank you for those recommendations. Lisa Whitwell, I believe this is your first international convention.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
I'm really glad I went. I have been to one other, I went to the district conference a couple of years ago. I would say probably the thing that I enjoyed the most was, like Anna, talking to other people. I was blown away by just you're so aware when you're walking through the halls and you're in the meetings and you're in the breakout sessions and you're in the big auditoriums and stuff. These people are from all over the world. Like, it really brought home to me that we are part of an international organization, that this is global in reach, and not only global in reach, but we are having a huge impact on places in the world that other people are not serving, or at least not serving as well. It was humbling and inspiring to see so many people from so many places and to talk to other folks. And everybody's meetings are a little bit different, and the way they do things are a little different. When you talk to people, you ask them about their, how many people have you got in your club? How often do you meet? Those were the kinds of questions we were having, but it was really inspiring. It was really uplifting. There were a few, I went to most, I signed up for almost all of the breakout sessions I could. There were a couple of clunkers, but there were also some really, really good ones. And we had some fun talking to people in the halls and having dinner and drinks afterwards. It was a really great experience. I followed David around like a lost puppy for pretty much the whole time, because he seemed to know where he was going and I was hopelessly lost. So there was that. Yeah, that's
I think it's great you got to an international convention before you become club president. A lot of
yeah,
people.
I agree. And I got to meet Nisi, our new district governor, and some of her people, her friends. And so, I've got faces to put with names, and it was really good.
Good, super. I saw that Ismet has joined us since we started. Ismet, welcome. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'd like to comment.
Good to meet.
Sure, Walter.
Sorry, I don't know if everybody knows, but you can go full screen on whoever the speaker is. If you go to the top right of your screen where it says view, there's a little icon that says speaker, and whoever is speaking will come up full screen. I don't know if everyone knows that.
Okay, good tip. Thank you, Walter. So, Ismet, what we're doing is the people who were able to get to Calgary to the international convention are saying a few words, and then we're going to have sort of an open discussion about that international conferences and district conferences and the like at the end. So glad you could join us. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just escaped from that heavy rain. It was incredible raining, so I just hid into the library branch and then just run into the home. Now I'm safe and happy to join you. So it's good to be here. So I just had the chance to talk to Anna about a bit of her experiences when we met in the farmers market meeting. But then it's nice to definitely, hopefully, one day I want to go to one of the international conventions to be able to network and see other our Rotarians there. So nice to hear all of your experiences. Thank you for sharing.
We got a few more to come, and we can all learn from what others have taken away from these opportunities. David Richardson, what was some of the highlights or the takeaways for you?
So going in, I wasn't really sure what to expect. And I think everyone I've talked to prior to going to this convention I said, I really don't know much what's going on or anything like that. And they go, yeah, it's kind of always the way when you walk in, you get ready and you try and find the schedule and things of that sort. But, once I downloaded the app that they have for the convention, I have to tell you, it's a phenomenal piece of technology. And that's why Lisa followed me around like a lost puppy. And I have to tell you that my whole saying about the power of Rotary and the Rotary as a vehicle, the convention proves it. Because there was every topic you could think of, either in so for most people that haven't, like Glenn hasn't been to a convention, things like that, but they're typically an open and closing ceremony, which everybody goes to, and then they have breakout sessions in the morning, and they go all throughout the whole day. And so you get to pick and choose what you want to cover. And so I know Ron was looking at peace, peace resolution, things of that sort. I wanted to go to membership and public image. So I looked through the calendar and tried to find topics of that sort. And to Lisa's point, some of the stuff was clunkers, but then there was an engagement for membership. And I think both Lisa and I found that one to be the highlight for us, because it really allowed us to talk to other Rotarians and find out what they're doing in their clubs for engagement. But I really found it a really good experience to know that if you have a passion within Rotary as a Rotarian, there's something out there that's already probably happening or about to happen that you could be a part of. And it was really, really fascinating, to Anna's point in the House of Friendship, how many projects or action groups are on the go, and you could be a part of those. And we went to a presentation. It wasn't anything that we thought it was going to be, but I thought, wow, these guys tried to probably do a switch and play and switch with us, but it was the one, Lisa, where we went to where we thought it was about how to engage your club, and it was really about how to start a club, and basically but what they did is they introduced an app that you could actually start the application to create a new club, like a satellite club or something. So there was everything and anything there, which I was quite surprised. I thought there would have been a theme, but there wasn't. There was stuff all over that any interest you could find, there was probably something going on. And I really applaud the Rotary International in regards to their village within the House of Friendship, where they had the different stations that you could go and talk to different people from the headquarters. And I got to ask them questions about, like I said to them, I asked them, is there a way to have a checklist for our global grant? Because I was working with Anna on that, and they said, no, we really don't have anything that we can use as a checklist that you can make sure you're covering off everything. So, but that's a great idea. So it's a really great opportunity to really interact with headquarters and other Rotarians. And I have to tell you, some of these Rotary clubs come to this convention decked out to the nines, like which club they're from. And it was really a lot from Africa and some of those countries where they were decked out with Rotary gear, but it was all the same. It was in there. It was so weird. I think Lisa and I both commented on this, that we walked around, we saw a group from South Africa, and they were wearing the traditional outfits with Rotary on it, but then they were wearing the white cowboy hats from Calgary. And it was just such a juxtaposition. But it was like, this is Rotary. These are all the different people that come to this organization, and how much their passion is in it. So that was my big thing takeaway, is like just the amount of things that Rotary does.
Great, super, David, and we'll talk more in a discussion after everyone's had a chance to say a few words. Another one of our newer members who was attending for the first time was Maria Danutzen. She's somewhere where the time zone is the middle of the night, so she said she wanted to be here on Zoom, but it wouldn't be able to for that reason. And she made it to she went to the zoo and sent me a picture where she was seeing the peacock in full display. But I think she found the whole Calgary experience to be pretty impressive as well. Now we've got some members who've been to several and maybe even many international conferences. And Neelam, you've been to several, I imagine. And how does Calgary compare? Or I know they're all different, but what did Calgary do for you?
Well, I think for me it was probably was much more involved in the program. So the downside of that is I could not meet some of our club members regularly. I think I managed to see David and Lisa and Anna at some point and make it to the district dinner. But I think I was fairly happy with the outcome because I was involved in, number one, there was a pre-convention full-day summit that the Environmental Action Group and the Economic Development Action Group had jointly developed. So I was involved in the program development of that. And that was at an interesting venue, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. And they have a superb facility, a great culinary school. And that was a full day summit. I think there were about close to 175 people there. Plus, virtually, there were another 150 or so. And so, by all accounts, that was good. And the way we tried to do that was we even have the Rotary International president come there. So the morning was mostly the subject matter, but in the afternoon, there were breakout groups and people were doing ideas for projects that they would go away from Calgary and work on continually. So it doesn't mean it was a one-day event, and it was focused around the environmental topics. But there were subject matters ranged from energy to food waste, and about 5 or 6 others. So the results of that will be followed up in 90 days, 120 days, etc. So that's where I sort of started off on the Friday. And Saturday, I was involved in facilitating some sessions of the cadre. And the cadre are the folks who help people develop, monitor global grants, district grants. So that was an ask made of me, so that was fine. And then on the other thing that I was really pleased was that I had made a suggestion to get a keynote speaker at the large plenary, Catherine Hayhoe. I don't know how many of you probably saw her. She is the kind of the foremost climate scientist in the world, Canadian of origin, but lives in the U.S. And that was a win for the environmental folks, because in this day and age, with the climate change being swept under carpet in the U.S., this was an opportunity for everyone to hear. And I think by all accounts, she really hit the high notes. And not only that, but she made presentation at the Calgary Library and then came to the House of Friendship and was very generous with her time, spent about 2 hours there, and people were sitting on the floor in the House of Friendship. Very personable character. So I think that was good. And then I had a breakout session on the Tuesday. And I know breakout sessions can be overwhelming. A lot of people I've heard complain that, oh, we weren't able to get a breakout session. So I consider myself among the luckiest that we did. But the purpose of that was it was a good discussion, a room full of people. So I was very busy involved in the program end of things, but did enjoy and had set up meetings with people from Kenya and other places. So it was by the end of the convention, I think I was totally exhausted.
How many have you been to, Neelam? How many
Well,
international?
3
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
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 But now
Not that many, not as many as Ron. So
yeah, no, he's coming up next. But
yeah.
Now in 3, you're not just attending. By the 3rd time, now you're contributing and part of the program. That's really commendable.
Yeah.
No, really good.
And I think the thing with that one is that it goes to show that you can have an impact, and you start earlier on. And if you're really passionate about something, go for it. And talking about the plenary speaker, they had been trying to get her for the last 5 or 6 years. But this time I had a chat with the program chair, Brent Stiles, and he said, well, if you're recommending, let's look at it. And there is a very detailed, cumbersome process of recommending someone. You have to fill in several pages, give video clips of how they speak, etc. So having her there, I think that was sort of, for me, a lot of personal satisfaction.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I didn't know that you were. I attended that session. It was one of my highlights, actually, that I'll touch on in a second. Ron Denham, have you lost track of?
And when Ron speaks, I hope he will talk about the accolades he got there. So he may be too modest. So we will ask him about those.
Ron Denham, have you lost track of the number of international conventions you've attended, or imagine it's a high number?
Let me unmute. I was district governor in the Rotary years 93, 94. I attended the convention the year before that in 90, which is the beginning of 93. And since then I've attended 30. I missed Seoul the first time. I missed Indianapolis because who wants to go to Indianapolis? And I forget which other one because my wife wasn't too well. This is the second Calgary convention I've been to. And of course, when you had 30 experiences of conventions around the world, I guess you tend to be more critical. And I'm going to start out with the cold water and then get better from that. My feeling was that it was uninspiring. That came from the leadership. I've worked with some exciting Rotary presidents, really motivate you. I think of Kalyan Banerjee. I think Ravi Ravindran. I think Gordon McInally. I think, of course, of our own Jennifer Jones. Truly inspiring speakers. Stephanie doesn't speak from the heart, she speaks from the mind. And it comes across that way. Doesn't exactly inspire, factual, interesting, but it didn't get the convention off to the start the previous Calgary convention did, where they had the RCMP on horseback riding through and so forth. So that was first of all, the general impression, but also some of the other things. On the Saturday, we had the annual Wash Rag Summit. And the theme for this was wash away polio and other diseases. And of course, WASH is absolutely crucial to eradicating polio. As you know, the polio virus is carried in wastewater and sewage. So it was a very, very appropriate topic. And there are two outstanding speakers there. One was Mike McGovern, the Rotary head of the polio eradication. And the other is Aziz Mamam. Some of you may know him. He was just director, I think, but he's currently the representative of the foundation, the trustee of the foundation from Pakistan. And he's the one who's worked in Afghanistan. It was through him and some of his friends that they arranged for a ceasefire in Afghanistan a few years ago so that everybody could be inoculated against polio. A wonderful speaker, a very inspiring person. But I'll also comment, the facilities I thought were excellent. The convention center, huge. You make sure you got your exercise going from one end to the other, but it was very good. Great facilities for breakout rooms for the House of Friendship. And there was a lounge at one end where you could just sit and shoot the breeze with your friends. A facility which I haven't seen anywhere previously. It was an excellent facility. But the reason I go more than anything is to reconnect with old friends. And I do this in part by spending much of my time at the Wash Rack booth in the House of Friendship, and right next to it, the Haiti hand wash booth. Being one of the members of the steering committee of the Haiti program, I felt an obligation to do some promotion there. So I was going back and forward between those two much of the time. So the net result, I didn't go to many of the breakout sessions, didn't go to some of the plenary sessions, but at those booths, meeting people, and I guess many people know I'm a waterman, so people who wanted to see me would come there. And some of you may recall, I'm not sure many of you would recall, but a number of years ago, a guy called Herb Wilson from Omaha came to our club and made a donation of $50,000 to the Rotary Foundation for wash projects in recognition of Ron Denham, which I thought was very nice. And his family, he died, but his family was there. So it was great to see his family and connect with them. Rotarians from, as you said, from all over the world. Very interesting connection with a former district governor from Egypt, a guy called Abdul. Now, some of you might have seen him. You might have mistaken him for me. But we thought of as twins. I first met him in Cairo at a Rotary convention some 6 years ago. We had our photograph taken together. And the only big difference is he had more hair than I do. He was more unkempt. But this time he'd had his hair cut a little bit. But after I'd been giving a small spiel about wash rag, he came up and once again renewed that friendship. And as always, an invitation to go back to his country. Two other things which I'm involved in is promoting wash rag among other organizations. And we've been successful in cultivating the relationship with Brew, the fellowship, beer Rotarians enjoy worldwide. And every year, they give $5,000 from their fees, from money they've collected for wash projects. But this year, something else happened along those lines. The Whiskey Fellowship also recognized they need good water for good whiskey. So we got $4,000 from them. So it was very successful financially. However, I did chastise the Whiskey Fellowship because they didn't have a Scot on the board of directors, and they also spell whiskey the wrong way. Put in. And at the very, very closing event was at the airport, getting the flight back to Toronto. And Anna and I were sitting there waiting for the flight. And lo and behold, another Rotarian came in. We could tell him because he had a baseball cap on with the Rotary symbol at the front. But the cap was pulled down over his head like this. And he was obviously studying or working hard or thinking. So I didn't disrupt him. But just before our plane was due to leave, I went to the washroom. And lo and behold, he came into the washroom at the same time. Looked at him and recognized me. I said, "Do you enjoy the convention?" The usual platitude you open with. Yes, and of course, and where are you from? He said, "I'm from Ghana." I said, "Ghana? Oh my God." He said, "You must know my good friend Sam Okudetsu." He looked at me and he said, "I am Sam Okudetsu." That's how small it was. Worked with Sam in Ghana on one of the US AID projects, and he was the past director of Rotary. As I say, apart from my lack of enthusiasm for the keynote speakers, except the last one, I would say other than that, I enjoyed it. I always enjoy it, but mostly I enjoy it because I'm reconnecting with people we've maybe worked with on a wash project, or the members of Wash Rag and worked with them somewhere else, or on some other cause. Maybe they've hosted me when I've been to some other club in Vladivostok or somewhere like that. So that's the great thing about it. And the more I go, probably at my stage in life, the less I will learn, although I'm always learning something, but the more I will enjoy the reflections with other Rotarians that I've met from around the world and continue to enjoy their company.
Right, that's inspiring, Ron. And as you mentioned, the connecting up with people. Actually, Maria, in addition to the going to the zoo and seeing the peacock, she appreciated running into some friends of hers from Winnipeg that she ran into at the conference. And for me, there was a few things. One, this is just my third as well, international convention. And I never really spent as much time before in the House of Friendship. So that was on my list this time, that I wanted to do more of that. And I was glad I did, as people have already commented on. And just to your last point, Ron, is I met 3 people from my club in Edmonton, where I first joined Rotary in the mid-90s. I was in and around sort of the polio booths, and I saw these 3 people, and I said, I think I know who they are. So I interrupted them and reintroduced myself. I had a buzz cut haircut, so they didn't really recognize me right away, but it was a nice chance to catch up with them and find out how the Edmonton Glenora Rotary Club was doing. As you also mentioned, Ron, one of the highlights for me also was the closing ceremony speech. The woman, the Nobel Prize winning woman, I thought was fantastic. And as Anna mentioned, I was surprised to see organ harvesting on the app that David had mentioned. So Brenda and I and 2 of our other friends, we went. It was off-site. It was located at the Toronto Public Library downtown, which is a beautiful facility. And I thought, oh, they needed that. They were going to do it there because they needed a big theater. But no, it was actually lower level, and it was a small group, small room, small group, but an unbelievable presentation. And organ harvesting is probably the toughest thing I've ever heard talked about at Rotary. So I just came away thinking that, yeah, the Rotary does take on some real issues. I've been critical at times for them avoiding some things, but clearly there's some people in there who take on some really, really important ones. Now, I know there's people.
There's one other thing, Ron, that I didn't mention that Neelam touched on, and I didn't because it was something that involved me, and it wasn't what I observed. I had been asked ahead of time to give a 20-minute talk on the history of Washrag, or at least my Rotary journey, which was essentially Washrag, or 90% of it was Washrag. And at the end, a guy called Wendell from the Grand Rapids Club in Michigan got up and thanked me. I was a bit surprised that he would thank me, but nevertheless, I've known him for a long time. He got up and thanked me, which was very nice. And then Mary Beth Growney-Celine stood up, and she also then thanked me. And this time I was looking at the audience, and at the end, she said, "Now, Ron, turn around." So I turned around, and here's the TV screen, an announcement of a $100,000 Ron Denham legacy for water, sanitation, and hygiene. And not only that, a $20,000 legacy in Anna Shepherd's name for water, sanitation, and hygiene. So whenever you're thinking of giving any funding to the Rotary Foundation, this is a legacy where your funds could have double impact into the legacy than matched with funds from the Rotary Foundation. So any more information on that later when the documentation is completed. But that was a rare experience.
Oh, that's congratulations, Ron, and thank you, Neelam, for reminding us that we made sure that we learned about that today. Now we've got some time for discussion. I'd like to first let anyone who has any questions of anything we've talked about maybe ask those questions first. And I know a number of people have been to many conventions, and they've got some things to share too. So is there any questions first of all, and then just whoever wants to jump in with to add to the discussion?
Oh, there, Jackie's got her hand up.
Okay, just jump in, or maybe she
Right.
you have to unmute yourself.
Well, I've spent some time in Europe in the past month with Americans and on a cruise ship, and I have to say that it was a little uncomfortable. Not that there was anything overtly stated, but Trump's comments about Canada were front and center in their mind. And people either came up and apologized or they said nothing. And I wondered if there was any of that tone, that flavor at the international convention. I know you were buffered by people from all over the world, but was there any sensitivity to what Canada has been going through recently with respect to the American president's comments?
I didn't sense any negative comment.
I got some some social interactions with people, like when I was eating and stuff. Like I sat down, they had the pancake breakfast. It's a typical Stampede thing, and I was sitting across from a couple from North Carolina, and this is very typical. So I wasn't blown away by it, being down in Florida, and these people, you could very clearly see that they were Democrats, and I get the same response, but I got. I'm so sorry how you guys handling everything that our president's saying about you guys. I mean, and you try not to get into deep politics with that stuff. But then as we were talking, these two ladies sat down beside me. I was on one side of the bench and the couple on the other side. And as I was talking with the husband, the wife said, "Oh," and because I said I have a place in Naples. And so these people sat down beside me, and you could tell they were from the South because they were well tanned. And it turns out these two ladies were from Naples, Florida. And So we started talking, and the first thing out of her mouth, which is what I typically when I'm in Florida, is, "So I'm excited about becoming the 51st state," and that was the comment, and you could tell they started to become very uncomfortable in our conversation very quickly, and they decided to get up and leave. But yeah, there was little of that, but it didn't come across it from a program perspective, but it was just some of the individuals you met up with. But most Americans I dealt with were very trying to avoid any of that type of discussion, and they were very friendly and very open. But I didn't. That was the only encounter I felt. I don't know about you, Lisa, but that was the only piece
Well,
I felt.
there were a number of people who, because your name tag says where you're from. So people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're a Canadian. I'm from California. I'm so sorry." Or "I'm from New England. I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
I got a lot of that, and we kind of laughed it off, and I was actually a little surprised that there wasn't any kind of glancing reference to it, at least that I recall, even in the big sessions, because, when you're there to represent an international organization that's headquartered in a country that is, their president is actively threatening to take over the country that you're currently residing in, you might want to say, "Yeah, sorry." But no, it was completely ignored from the content portion. And for the most part, I would say it makes sense to me that Rotarians are people who are, internationally minded and looking at something other than their own little lives. So it makes sense to me that most of the people we ran into were not in favor of what is currently happening. Though there was that one lady who was sitting behind us at that thing. She was from Kentucky or
Oh,
something.
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
then a guy from the UK came and sat behind us. So he was talking to us for a few minutes, and he said, "Oh, so I want to, like, my wife told me to not talk politics, but I just have to ask, how are you guys, how do you feel about this talk of being annexed?" And I did not hold back about how offensive that is to your average Canadian to suggest that their sovereignty might be taken away from them, and how ignorant it is to think that you could do that without actually declaring war. And the lady from Kentucky kind of she didn't move, but she just went radio silent.
Disengaged. Yeah, she got
It's
disengaged
just
pretty
like,
quickly.
yeah, I think there are lots of people in the States that don't think that this is a big deal, but it is a big deal. And it's more than just something to laugh about. I would have liked to see somebody say, just for the record, we are not in favor of overrunning your country with tanks and troops, just so you know.
Yeah.
You can
Great
relax now.
Great comments and great question, Jackie. Any other questions or comments from people who've been or are thinking of going to an upcoming international convention and district conference?
I just want to make a comment. I think I really do encourage people to go to at least one convention. If you only go to one, just to get a feel for how large Rotary is. Because you can go to a conference, like a district conference, and you kind of get a feel of how the district works. And you kind of make a lot of great friends there. But when you go to the convention and you see people from all over the world, and there was just over 16 or around 16,000 people from all over the world, you kind of go, this is a really big organization. And we do a lot of good around the world. And if you don't, you can talk about it, but until you go and see, like that convention center, what Ron said, it was big. It was really big. And you really had to walk a kilometer from one end to the other and go up a 2-story escalator to get to that lounge. But
I
it
went
was
in the
full.
south door. When we first got there, I got off the bus. I went in the south door, and they said, "Okay, so you just, you go along this hallway, and then you turn right, and you just go as far as you can."
Yeah, that was the
I think I
register.
was still walking 15 minutes later.
But
It takes up a whole city block, but it's the biggest city block I've ever seen.
and
It
it's
is
the largest convention center in Canada now. But but we filled it. Like there was people there all the time. And it was only on the off hours. Like I walked in and I didn't go to a morning session, and I walked in And there was Ron with his walking sticks walking down. I said, "Oh, where are you going, Ron?" And remember that, Ron? And you were going, and it was like, okay, he's on his move. He's moving. And, and it was just kind of nice walking into people and seeing people. But there's a lot of Rotarians in this world.
Yeah.
And only a small portion went.
I've got a
I,
question for Ron Denham.
can I just say I've only unfortunately only been to the one convention. That was the Toronto one a number of years ago. It was very interesting because two of the speakers were Princess Anne from the UK and Laura Bush, who was at that time, I think, the wife of the then president. But what I particularly enjoyed about that, although I went to a number of the breakout sessions, one of them was about not slavery, but sexual,
or human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Yeah.
That's right. It was quite frightening. But I particularly enjoyed, if you recall, we hosted a party at the Toronto Lawn Tennis Club, and we had quite a number of people come from all over the world. We filled the room. It was a really, really enjoyable evening, summer evening, and we had a very nice meeting and dinner. It was enjoyable.
Can I ask a question to Ron Denham? Ron, can you tell us what the state of Rotary is in Russia, and were there any Russians at the conference?
Yeah, there are something like, well, first of all, Rotary in Russia is in two parts. There's Western Russia, which is west of the Urals, and there's Siberia and the Russian Far East. I'm more familiar with Siberia and the Russian Far East because that's where I worked with Rotary, expanding Rotary. The clubs are having a tough time. Many of them had, 20, 25 members when they started, but because of the not just the current situation, but because of the situation over the last 3 or 4 years, they haven't been as strong as they might have been. They do now have their own district governor. For a long time, they were under the tutelage of the Alaskan district governor, District 5010. And it was really that district that helped propel Rotary in the Siberia and the Russian Far East. I'm in touch with two fairly regularly. One is Vladimir Donskoy, who was governor of the Sayers Lars, and it's through him that we've had exchange students in the summers to come and stay with us. And the other is the Rotarian I stayed with in Novosibirsk, stayed with him in his apartment and exchange messages there. And the other was Yevgeny Kukurenko, who lived in Toronto for a time when he was briefly a member of our club. He gets out to Canada, he flies to Baku, and from Baku to Istanbul and back here. And he doesn't paint a very bright picture for the future of Rotary. That's the bottom line. There's still personal friendships and so forth, but I'm not aware that they're doing anything significant in the way of even community projects in their own communities.
Thanks, Ron.
Stephen Bianco, I know on the agenda you had Lars to do a wrap up. He is at a district meeting tonight, so he can't do that. I don't know if there's somebody else who can do it, or you want to do it, or we don't even need to.
You're muted, Stephen.
The speaker is off.
Oh yeah, Stephen Bianco, you've been muted, or
yeah, I'm muted.
Okay.
No, I think it was an incredibly interesting insight into what goes on at a convention. I laud everybody who went and for their comments and what they had to say. Extremely interesting.
It's Ray Cowan here. I back that up. I think it is a very interesting thing to do and a wonderful education for Rotary. Bill Martin and I were at the Barcelona convention in around 2003, I think it was, where Gorbachev was the keynote speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I remember distinctly the fact that he spoke for over an hour and a half in his allotted hour. And we all were late for lunch, but it was a wonderful experience. First of all, to hear him, he was a marvelous speaker. And secondly, to meet people from around the world, as you've said, and to hear about all the activities they're engaged in. But despite the fact it was a long time ago, I still recall how wonderful it was and the impact it had on me.
Thank you, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So thank you to those who attended and shared their experiences with us, and others for everyone else for joining in the discussion. These are things that we can continue when we see each other next week live and at other Rotary events. That the convention and conferences do play an important role in our organization.
Can I just ask, perhaps in closing, what is the general feeling about having an evening meeting like this?
Yes,
This is the
yeah.
first one, of course.
I
Anybody got any
presume
comments on that?
I presume eventually they'll be face-to-face, in-person meetings rather than online.
Well, at the moment, I mean, the way it's planned is we're planning to have the second Zoom meeting of the month, which is traditionally a Zoom only meeting. The plan is to have it in the evening,
Right.
as we've done this evening.
Okay. I thought it was just this one that was Zoom
No.
only.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were all going to be Zoom.
Okay.
That is the intent, but that doesn't mean that's not going to change. We're trying different things,
Right.
and see how it goes.
We're basically experimenting with a lot of different things.
I think you got to try at least 2 or at least 3 meetings.
Yeah.
Because this is a Wednesday night in August. Like, there's a lot of people away. Even I was out at the barbecue in our courtyard because I'm on the social committee, and it nicely started to rain. So I thought, I have a good excuse to come in and go to the meeting. Even to help go clean up the mess. But, it's a busy time of year. If you don't get more by October, that's probably something to look at.
Yeah, I agree with you, Glenn. I think at least three meetings need to be had, just because you got different seasons and such. So yeah, I agree.
Well, and I also think we've been able to, have Ismet join us today. So that is already a bonus,
Right.
because she would be not able to come during the day. And for those of us who doesn't really matter whether it's at noon or at 7, I think let's try this for a while and see how that works.
Yeah, and if we can couple this with the speaker and then do a little bit of promotion, we might have even more folks attending.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of the same way you guys are, but I'd like to add one thing. One thing I'm against is to have evening live meetings.
Why is that?
We'll see. We have to find a location. I don't think the Toronto law would let us be there anyway. I just don't think it's cost effective, but that doesn't mean we can't look at opportunities. But any suggestions are welcome. I know that Walter's looking for suggestions, so any feedback you can share with him. He's open to listening, and the board will look at it and figure out how we want to move forward. But
okay, could I have the floor for a minute there? Or?
Sure, go ahead. You're the president.
Okay, no, I quite enjoyed the meeting. Yes, well done, Ron. Well run. And for me, even though I'm semi-retired or somewhat retired, it means I can have a quick meeting in the evening, and I don't have to travel an hour downtown and an hour back. So it doesn't become a 3 or 4 hour effort every Wednesday. And an evening meeting does make sense. And yes, as David was saying, if we start thinking about evening meetings with dinner and such, it's going to be a little bit cost prohibitive. And again, it's going to be hard to find a venue. We might not be able to do it for the same cost at the Toronto Lawn Tennis Club. So, and certainly it would be difficult to book evenings because they have a lot of other activities going on. But could maybe with a show of hands, let me just go full screen on my gallery view. Is everybody in favor of this type of a format?
Yeah.
Yes, put up your hands. Yeah. Is there anybody that has some negative input? Okay. No, I did quite enjoy this meeting, and again, time and resource efficiency, and the fact that we have people like Ismet be able to come in, if we can promote it properly, and if we can get 20 to 30 people, maybe more than we get at a typical lunch meeting, to one of these meetings it'd be well worthwhile. But again, as David Richardson was saying there, we're trying a lot of different things now. We're coming out of the COVID era. We're coming out of the Zoom meetings, the hybrid meetings. David's not going to be with us for about a month or so. He's going to be away. So technology-wise, we're going to have some challenges in terms of running things, but all is well. And again, we're open to experimenting. We're trying a lot of different things. And again, my congratulations to Ron for running a very, very good meeting. So
Yeah.
So is there anybody who was just itching to make a happy buck announcement? In case there is, I have to ask.
Well, yesterday was my birthday, so
Happy birthday.
I will be making a
birthday.
contribution to the foundation for my birthday, and I will also kick in $10 because it was a lovely day. My kids got me a Baskin Robbins ice cream cake.
Oh.
And I channeled my 8-year-old self and I loved it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Birthday.
well,
I'll chip in $5. One of my grandsons is at Columbia University, and this is his summer, and he had a job with Bain Management Consultants in Los Angeles. And yesterday he was notified that they would like him to come back as a permanent employee when he finishes school next year. So no need to pass the tin can for my grandson.
They work pretty hard, those people in that industry. Yeah,
Ron,
you're very bright guy.
Ron, pass him a list of Rotary clubs in Los Angeles.
very nice. Well, what's interesting?
Okay.
What's interesting here in Toronto, we have a very diverse population. So Walter J. and I attended a Rotary Club, the Toronto Danforth Rotary Club, and it was predominantly people from Sri Lanka, I guess. And the flavor and the presentations were phenomenal. The food was phenomenal. It was unlike anything we had ever expected. So we do have quite a diversity here in our city of Toronto. We have people from all over the world, and certainly, Walter, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that it was an incredible experience seeing how other people interact from different cultures. So that was good. We also attended the Rip Fest. So again, you got a bit of a flavor of how other clubs do things as well. And that's a good idea as well, to see what other clubs are doing, perhaps pick their brains, perhaps replicate what they're doing, and just get involved and not just sort of be in our own little silos, but also see what people are doing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, we have to enjoy the diversity that we have right here in our city, in our GTA. Phenomenal.
Walter, is there any more either president's announcements or committee reports that we need to do before we close?
Not that I can think of right now. We have what is it? Monday night we have the super committee board meeting, and Tuesday we have
Monday's the membership, and Tuesday's the board.
Tuesday's the board meeting. Yeah, that's the membership meeting. Okay. And Wednesday, obviously, we'll have a live meeting again. No, yes, we do. Yes, we'll have a live meeting again. And we have the Eglinton BIA people speaking to us. So I've been very involved with a lot of them, and I've gotten to know a lot of them. So I'll be introducing and maybe hosting a lot of that meeting there. We have a wonderful community, and we're only discovering what some of the possibilities are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people willing to brainstorm with us in terms of what our specific community needs, our Toronto Eglinton BIA community. So, okay, so all right, over to you, Ron. Anybody else?
Norma, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just put my hand up. Glenn, don't we have a community service meeting on Monday?
Yep.
We do, yeah.
Okay.
Monday.
A community service meeting on Monday, 7 o'clock, right?
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
it's on my calendar. Okay.
Okay.
And
I also want to add something. Yeah.
Ismet, yep.
So yeah, thank you for this opportunity tonight to be able to join you all community. So I enjoyed a lot, and I had a lot of insights and informative session for me. So I want to also join the Happy Box this week for the $10 to join, to be able to be in this the very first online meeting, and hope that we could make a lot of online meeting as well. Which, as I also agree that it would be really good to promote this with different speakers, maybe in the meetings. I will also be thinking of how I could support these online meetings to be able to provide some speakers in the sessions, and if we'll be more able to, many people will join to this as well. So thank you very much for this opportunity again. And yeah.
Yeah, we're all really glad to see you join us, Ismet.
And if you want to see Ismet in person, you can come join her at the farmers market. She's there almost every weekend.
Yes, that's very nice. I think it's a very good opportunity to be there because it gives the people the opportunity to be aware of Rotary in the long term. Maybe some days we don't have a lot of interactions due to the weather. It's really so hot, especially in August. But still, people just come and say hey, and the folks that we see that when we haven't been, for example, previous week, they say that, oh, you weren't here, so we just look for you. And it was nice to be there, even if to having the flyers, the information. So that's nice. I really enjoy each week when I join. And we had the opportunity with other members to interact, to get to know more in detail about ourselves. That's a nice experience for me each week. So thank you again for this project.
Yeah.
Good.
Norma's had her hand up there. Norma, you wanted to say something?
I did it, Walter. I asked Glenn about the meeting on Monday. I just was confirming it. I did it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Now, just to remind everybody, as far as possible, we're trying to record all these meetings. And so pretty much there's a link on our website and even on our meeting notice to YouTube. So with David Richardson's help and such, we've been recording the meetings. And again, we're in the process of experimenting. We're trying to figure out what to do in the next year or such going forward. And we're trying to find out what works best for all our members and what'll bring us all together. So any feedback people have is more than welcome. But again, we're trying to record everything so nothing will be missed. If you do miss a meeting, certainly go to our website or go to the link. I think pretty much on each invitation, there's going to be a link, David, or maybe we'll.
If you go to our website, then it'll take you to the YouTube.
Because I know Mike Moy put a link on a few of the pages.
Just have to click on the YouTube link. It'll take you to our website.
The YouTube link.
Well, if you go into the website, they're all there. When I was into it, was either the website or comment, but I saw all of them listed. So one or the other.
Yeah.
Good.
So the idea is we don't want anybody that's interested to miss anything. Certainly if you miss a live meeting, you can catch up on YouTube there. But obviously the hybrid meetings, we have decided were not quite as useful because the technology was very complex, and the few people that were joining, the 2 or 3 that joined, it was hardly worth the effort for the results that we got. So again, we're trying to record everything. We're trying to keep all that together. And again, it is all available on the website. And again, bear with us as we experiment and try a lot of new things. Okay, so shall we call the meeting to a close?
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay.
See everyone next week.
Best everybody.
Well done,
Committee
Rob.
meeting
Next week.
See you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.